This is the Yamaha CS1x, my very first synthesizer that I bought back in 1996. And in this video, I would like to go over three things. One, what can this machine do? And show you a little bit of how you can make your very own patches using this thing. Two, I'm going to make an attempt of making a bit of a track using this as the only sound source, including the effects as well as the drums. And three, I need to give you my honest opinion on this machine, just in case you were ever thinking of getting one of these. And maybe we start there. And I would like to give you this review by interviewing myself. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, the fellow passenger, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here. You've had this synth since 1996. Have you been using it all the time since then? Absolutely not. It's mainly been in storage. So why is that then? It just doesn't sound particularly good. Can you say something good about this synth? No, I don't think I can. There's not much good about this synth at all. Now, when you've been using it again after all this time, have you found any use for it? Maybe. I'll see. Who do you think this synth is actually intended for? I think it was made for someone to perform live on, but I think there are better options for that, even back in 1996. All right, so I suppose we should just look into what this synth can do then. We've got two different modes. We've got multi-mode and performance mode. Multi-mode is a multi-timbral section where you can have up to 16 different sounds. They're all general MIDI based. That's your pianos, your oboes and trumpets, etc. They have very limited editability, so we're not going to focus on that in this video. We're going to talk more about the performance section, which is probably the reason why most people bought this in the first place. So let me just show you what some of those sounds sound like. So if we start off with the default sound, number one, an arpeggiated sort of drum section. If you turn the arpeggio off by pressing that, you have individual sampled drum hits. I'm not going to say more about that. Then we got these sort of overly rich, arpeggiated electronic sounds. Gives you a little bit of an idea of the type of sound palette this does. There are two different areas on this synth. This one here, which is about programming sounds, and we're going to dive into that in a moment, but I just want to cover this section over here, which is more focusing on the live performance, where you have the slightly more hands-on controls. Well, slightly, there are hands-on controls. So this section here with these two knobs, missing the cap on this one, is the amplitude attack and release. And down here we got the resonance and cutoff frequency. Then we have two additional dials here, assign 1 and assign 2, and they are assignable parameters which you can set up here for whatever you want to change. This one also doubles up as a data dial, similar to the alpha dial on a Roland Alpha Juno 1/2, or the programming slider on a JX3P, or I suppose there is one on the Yamaha DX7, can't remember what it's called. Then we got these two scenes here, it's labeled as scene 1 and 2, and they're basically where you can store snapshots of these hands-on parameters so you can quickly access them. I'm not going to dive into the performance section much more, it's not much more to say about it. So let's talk about programming sounds for this. So each of your sounds can consist of 4 patches that work in layers. You don't have to use all 4 layers, you can use only one if you want to. I haven't found a way where you can just press a button and just get a blank patch. So if you want a blank patch, you have to create one. And I think we should actually start there because it could be a way in of explaining how this programming section works. So I'm just going to pick, I don't know, let's take that sound, for example. To use this programming section here, we're going to use that to reset all the parameters for this sound. So we've got something to start with. You have a dial here with an arrow that points at these different layers. And then you just set it to the layer that you want to change something to, and then you use these up and down buttons or this data knob to change the parameters that you want to. There are two different subsections here. So we got top here, which is common over here. So those two first rows, those parameters will apply to your entire patch, all the 4 layers. And then you have all the parameters down here that can be individually set per layer. So what we're going to do, we're going to access some layers here, and you do that through these 2 buttons here, plus and minus, and there's an indicator here which layer you're on. So we are on layer 1 now. So if I turn this all the way down, we're going to see which layers are actually used here. So if I press bank, it shows you the bank name here. How that works is basically, think of the bank and program. They belong together. They are the, let's call them oscillators, because that's sort of their purpose. So there are about 100 something banks, and each bank has got 128 slots in there. So in theory, there could be quite a lot of different sort of oscillator shapes. They're basically very short samples that are looped. And even though you've got so many banks and so many programs, most of the slots are actually empty, which is a bit weird. So if I go down here, we got bank 0 here. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But if we go to bank 2, that's using something from Performance Bank 1. Bank 3 is off and bank 4 is off. So let's turn bank 2 off as well. So we just have one sound to kind of turn the arpeggiator off as well. So I can change the sort of sample that's used here by pressing program. So lots of different ones. Bank 0 is full of them. Bank 1 has probably got, where you see here, there's no sound at all. So there are loads of empty slots, and the more you go up here, lots of empty slots. I don't know why they did it that way. Why didn't they just do something where you could just access the slots where there are samples in? Because it's not as if you can add your own ones. All right, let's say that we like that sound. You can hear there is some effects going on here. There's some echo and stuff. So let's turn that off as well in the basic patch. So what do we have here? I've set this to the bottom here. The bank and program we've talked about. The bank is which banks, and program is the individual sample that you want to use. We can have an individual volume set for this particular layer. Then we got the pan, which is currently set to random. So every time I press a key, it will just set that randomly. So let's reset that to 0 so we get the sound in the middle. Then we get to this effect section, which we're going to dig into a bit. So we got a reverb send, a chorus send, and a vary send. I'm going to try to explain how they are different. The reverb send and chorus send, think of them as the aux return on your mixer or in your DAW, where you can send a sound off to them, but you can also, let's try and do this. I need to explain this, I think. Let's turn the chorus off to start with, and we turn the vary send off. So, and then we turn the reverb up. So now you can hear there's a bit of reverb on there. And if I turn the reverb down, so I'm using the data, so I've clicked on reverb here, you can see reverb send rather than tapping the key. I can just do that like this. Even though I changed the data knob while the reverb is ringing out, I'm not changing the reverb. I'm literally just stopping sending anything to the reverb. If you want to, let's turn that up again so we've got full reverb. If you want to change the type of reverb you're using, we have to turn this dial up to the common section for reverb type. So even though each layer can send its own amount to the reverb, but the type of reverb is shared by all layers. So we have a whole one now, so we can just click here, I suppose. With this reverb, you can unfortunately not change any parameters. You can just choose the algorithm it's using. Then it works the same with the chorus section. So let's turn the reverb off. And then we turn the chorus up. Sometimes just, yes, we've got a bit of chorus there, and then we can turn up and change the chorus type. You've got flangers and things like that in there. Let's turn that, go down here and we turn the chorus off. Then we got vary send. That's different. This one doesn't operate as a aux send effect. It's more like you've just plugged a pedal or effects unit straight into the, well, from the audio out of the synth into this effect. So if we set this dial to the bottom layer here, vary send, that's basically just, do I send this layer off to this effect or not? This is not an amount. This is containing lots of different effects. So here you actually got the vary types. If I go to the top here, we can choose whether we want to have an echo, or I think you get some choruses and reverbs and EQs and distortions and things. So if we're just going to pick something like, I think the echo or delay would probably be quite an easy one to. So karaoke, that's some sort of delay. On this effect, you can actually change the parameters. So the next one up here, I'm on the top layer, vary param. So every time I click here, I can step through the different parameters you can change. So here we have delay time. If I want to change the value of that delay time, go to the next one, which is called vary data. So if I change the delay time here, it's quicker to turn this knob. So that's pretty much gone through how the different effects work. Here at the end, on the top layer, we can change the name of the patch if we want to save it, and we can also assign this assignable knob to a parameter, which means that knob 1, that's going to change a common value. And then if I go down a couple of slots here on this, we have assign 2, which can have a different parameter attached to the particular layer that you're working on. Let's see what other things we have down here. So if we go one step down, well, at the top level here, we talked about the effect section. You also got the same here where you can change the arpeggio type, the tempo of the arpeggio, and the subdivision, which can be, perhaps useful if you sync the arpeggiator to your tempo of your DAW. You can have 16th notes, 8 notes, or whatever you want. The next layer down is the pitch bend range, which is shared between all parameters. Then we got the settings for the modulation wheel, which is how much the LFO is affecting the pitch modulation, the frequency modulation, and you can also control the cut off here. There is a little bit of an extra feature with this, not a feature, but we'll get to that when we talk about the LFO. Then we got also here foot controller, which can do similar thing. So if you have a foot pedal that you plug into this, you can set how much the LFO is dealing with the filter. And you can also just change as if you're turning the cutoff knob. And I think you can turn, let me see, that's vary effects. Oh, you can set, I think it's the dry wet for the vary effect. And then we got a portamento section, which will be shared between all layers. So whether you have portamento on or off, or and then how fast that is. Now we get back down here where we have for the individual layers where you can change the tuning. So yeah, if you want to detune your different layers. Then we got the note, which is low, limit low and limit high. That means basically that you are attaching your sound to a section of the keyboard. So in theory, you can have it's not quite multi-timbral, but you can have 4 different sounds playing simultaneously if you just reduce the amount of keys you're using for that sound, or you can just have a big layered sound across the keyboard, and that's what we're doing now. Here you can also set your velocity, what the low limit, high limit. You can offset the velocity so you just don't get really quiet notes, for example, and the depth, how much it's affecting the sort of volume or the filter. We talked about this section here, which is about assigning a parameter to second dial. Now we get into some slightly more straightforward stuff. Here we got the amp envelope, so the volume envelope, attack, decay, sustain, release. And we got the same one level down here for the filter. So remember, this is individual for this layer, so you can have different envelopes for the individual 4 layers. And this is the filter, which is attack, decay, sustain, release. On the other side here, you also got an envelope for the pitch. So this one is a bit of a mystery to me. I find it more confusing than the pitch envelope is on a Yamaha DX7. So for this one, it's not attack, decay, sustain, release. It's initial level, attack time, attack level, decay time, release time, and release level. So I'm going to try to make something out of this. So imagine this: if you have the init level, does it start at high pitch or low pitch? Let's say we wanted to start at a really high pitch, and then we go to attack level. We want it to, at the end of the attack, to end at a really low pitch, and then here we can set how long does it take to reach that. Let's just turn this effect off. So let's turn the attack time up a bit more. I'm not quite sure what it's jumping to after that, because we got the decay time and it's not reached the release level yet. So it's the way the pitch envelope works, it's not snappy enough to create really punchy drums. I generally like doing a lot of drum synthesis. You can maybe get away with making like a tom sound or something. I find this quite useless. The only use case I can see for the pitch envelope is if you want to make a long evolving sound and you have each layer drifting either up or down. Yeah, I wish it was more useful than that. The last thing we got to talk about is the LFO, and that's you can set how much the LFO is going to affect the amplitude, the pitch, and the filter. You can choose the waveform, the speed of it, and you can also offset the phase of the LFO. So basically, where in the wave will the LFO start? The LFO does not have its own envelope, so you can't have the LFO sort of easing in. It's either on or off. But there is a way around that, and that's when we get to the modulation wheel, because here you can set how much the LFO is actually affecting the pitch mod and the filter mod. And so you can use the pitch modulation to sort of ease in either manually, or if you want to use your DAW and sort of draw in the sort of fading in of the LFO. So I think that sort of covers a lot of the programming. So I'm going to try to sort of, we got this sound here. Let's make another layer. So if we go to, we need to go into the layer section here. So we need to pick a bank. The lower banks are the general MIDI banks. So you can use those pianos and oboes, but if we get higher up, we get the performance layers. So let's say for this layer, we also want to use that silly pitch envelope here. So that one, we might want to start low, and we want to be of tack time, and we want it to go up instead. And maybe we want to offset the tuning. Let's go back to layer 1, and then we just change the envelope for the amplitude so we can have. Forgot to mention this bit. Each layer you can have the sort of default how much cutoff and resonance they have. And I think these ones here, it doesn't say in the manual, but I think these just acts as attenuators. I just don't know if I want to dig into this anymore. I don't find it a joy to program this thing. It's the samples. Let's see if we just turn layer 2 off again. Let's just literally turn it off. Bye-bye. No, I'm in the wrong bit here. And then we turn off this pitch envelope. We just reset it again here. Let's see. Oh, we need to go back to layer 1 here. So we set that to 0, that to 0, that to 0. And then we change the decay. Some of these sounds are badly looped. I can't get a good example of that now, but I think you can probably take my word for it, as the sounds are badly looped. And also there is some sort of sine wave and sort of sawtooth wave there, but I think it would have been quite helpful to at least have, as part of those banks, just to have some basic waveforms. It's very difficult to make very punchy sounds, and the basses feels like they just have the emphasis in the wrong place somehow. There is, as part of the Vari effect, there is a 2 or 3 band EQ where you can adjust that a little bit, but they sound just sort of boomy rather than punchy. So I think it's time that we jump into the next section, which will be making a track using this thing. I'm not going to make an entire track. I'm just probably going to make a bit of a track, but this is going to be the only sound source, and including the effects. And I'm going to use Ableton to just program it. And also, because the performance section is not multi-timbral, I am going to do some multi-track recording. So let's check that out. I'm going to start off with some drums, I think. So I'm using patch 128. One thing I forgot to say, that there is a preset section and a user section. Both of them have 128 presets in them. The difference is that the preset section, you can't overwrite them, but in the user section you can. So let's just, I'm going to try to make a little bit of electro, I think. These drum patches, they are sort of fine. They contain a bit of 808, a bit of 909, and some other drum sounds as well. So let's just find some 808 stuff. But it's a bit like it is a bit like just using a sample library. Nothing extraordinary. I just wish that when I originally had this synth that I had understood how to do some form of multi-track recording or had access to a sort of a Porta Studio or something. But alas, I didn't. Because I think this synth is quite limited and I don't particularly like it now, but I think if I would have had those facilities, if this was my only synth and I had a way of multi-tracking it, I think I would have stood quite a decent chance of making something that was better than I could just do with just my Amiga that I had at the time. Yes, I must have acquired a PC as well. So we got some different types of snares and stuff. Let's just find where the hi-hats are. So let's do these. I think that would be, oh. The other thing is like the velocity changes the volume nicely. So you can have builds and things fading in. Do we have a nice clap somewhere? Bit 909, distorted 909, 909 snare. I always liked the 909 clap better than the 808 clap. But that is maybe the only sound I mean, I can see 909 has its place, but I just wish that 909 clap would have been on the 808. I think that would have worked nicer. Actually, maybe we record the clap separately. See, we've got our 4-bar loop. So to record this, now we're going to do a bit of multi-track recording. To make this as flexible as possible, I am going to just do the individual layers. We get the kick and the snare, etc. separately. So deactivate them. Oh no, I can't remember what the shortcut is for deactivation. Oh, certainly not that. is it? Deactivate notes. It's a 0. So let's record that in. Let's be very good and call that kicks. Good, another audio layer, and we set that to record instrument 1, and then we turn the kicks off, and we turn on the snares by pressing 0, and then we go and record that layer. Do we want to have a little bit of reverb? Maybe we want to have one effect that I somewhat have to admit I like is the vary effect. Is the vary effect turned on? Yes, it is. So if we set that to be a sort of reverse gate, I think it's called. Maybe that's better on the clap. Maybe we want something. And then let's change the dry wet on this. So let's, where's the dry wet here? Just very, very, very subtle reverb on there. Cool. That needs to be snares. And then we need the whatever other instruments we had. We had the hats. We turn the snares off, those hats on, those hats on, and that open hat on. And for that, I think we're going to need a bit of flanger to make it a bit electro-y. Sort of phaser, and let's do a bit more of that. We actually do 8 bars, or should we actually do, we do 16 bars. What am I doing? Let's do that, just keep it quick and dirty. We copy that. Hats. Remember, we're only using the effects from the internal machine. Just realized that I've got this currently set to stereo, so I could probably, like when I'm doing drums, setting it to mono. Well, I suppose maybe this flanger thing adds a bit of the phaser adds a bit of stereo to it, but it will be fine. Okay, we got some flanger. Let's just do some claps quickly. Where did we? And for that, we want the reverse gate, I think. That's the line. Hey. And let's set the chance of these claps so we only get them sometimes. Maybe we want to send some reverb, this tiny bit of reverb already sending on them. But we maybe want that tunnel algorithm. What do we do this, copy that, and then we can just twist that data knob so some of them will send off to the reverb and some won't. So let's set that to there, and let's set that to record. I noticed that there is a click in there somewhere when it's looping. But do you know what? I'm just going to own that. We're going to say that we love that artifact. Phasing issue, so now we can do that. And let's say that that's our drums. Now we're going to need some sort of bass line, don't we, if we're going to make some electro. Do we want to own that click? That's where it is. Let's do that. A bit of fading between them. Beautiful. You can have a click every now and then. We do that every 16 bars. We can have a click. We just gonna ignore it. Let's find a preset that is some sort of bass sounds. Let's see this little indication here, which says now SC, sequence, I think. We can find one that starts with B, which should be a bass. So let's see if we can hear. Super. Definitely, let's set this to mono here now. So we're just going to use channel 1 because we definitely don't want any stereo happening in this bass sound. How many layers do we have for this one? 2. Let's turn layer 2 off. Can't really hear a difference. What's that weird boop? We got a filter envelope probably on here, so if we just set no. Oh, yeah, these sounds are just... maybe a bit of envelope. This is set to mono, by the way. It's set to poly. Let's see if I can find another preset to just... Reverb on the bass. I don't know. Chorus on the bass. I'm just going to do something with this, and in an emergency, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Should we do sort of call and response? Let's set this to... No, E minor. Do call and response with two different bass sounds. Let's merge these two guys together to a lovely thing. A lovely thing. And then we duplicate this, and we can add some embellishments the second time around. That one is very long, isn't it? Let's do this one 4 times over, and I'm going to twist some of the hands-on controls just to create a bit of variations. Let's set it in an audio track, and we call that baseline 1. Bass 1. Right, let's make a second bass line after that. So we remove these. Let's find another. Let's. How many layers does this sound have? So let's go down to bank. Let's turn the second bank off. Why is that not making any sound? I'm going to make this, use this. It's going to go preset, and then we'll see if we tweak the presets at all. Let's make it a little bit of a quicker melody with this one. Need to. Let's have a snappy, short decay, but a long. And then maybe it's the filter that's turning off. Is that set to mono? Yeah. Let's just have that repeating. Maybe with some sort of effect on. Not sure. Other bass. Not really a bass sound, but it will have to do. This feels like an incredibly energy-less track. That feels off. I don't like anything about it. Let's just add some sort of pad sound. There's something about these sounds that just the EQing does just not feel very good. Do we have... Okay, let's do some dissonant stuff here. So even though F is not in, and G sharp is not in this key, that's what we're going to use. Let's make that 4 bars. And then we just have that chord repeating. Why is that weird? Why is it doing that to me? Start. Do that. Let's just do that. crackle is not the synth. That is probably some... That crackle is probably not the synth. That's probably something in the Ableton Live settings, because the buffer size is set so incredibly low. Let's record that in. Oh no, we don't want a MIDI channel, we want an audio channel. And this one we probably do want in stereo, actually. To make it a bit fancy. Yeah, you can hear the stereo image. Oh, we need to set this to record. Actually, let's turn the volume down. Let's do that again. Oh gosh, this is just incredibly embarrassing, but I really don't want to redo this bit of the video, so I'm going to leave it there. My end verdict is, I don't particularly like this synth. It can do some decent pads and stuff, but I got so many other stuff that can do that better, and even in Ableton, I somewhat like the reverse gate effect. However, if this is the only synth you have, then you can definitely do something all right with it. But in this day and age, when software can do so much, I think most of what this synth can do, you can just do it better with software. And if you are a live performer and want the hands-on controls, I think also just a simple MIDI controller is going to solve that better. I don't think this would be a great purchase, even if you are after those old rave sounds. I don't think this one has got much going for it. And they're not worth that much. And even if they come up on eBay, etc., I think the price is the low. Well, what is a low price? But you can get these for maybe just sort of over 100 quid or something. I think you're better off just buying something from Behringer or something. I think you can do something with that this synth can't. And I think whatever this synth can do, you can just do it even better in software. And I think that's just the bottom line. If you have it, good for you. I'm not going to recommend it. It's a completely subjective view, though. So if you can do something magical with this, good for you. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.